So welcome everybody. It's great to have you here. What I'd love to do is to get everybody's voice in the room. And let's start with Lena and just have people introduce themselves, and we'll just say if you had any experience with Family Constellation and what brought you here today. So yeah, go ahead and unmute and welcome, Lena.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lena, and I have done Family Constellations many, many times with Randy in group settings, in person, online, and also individual work. I benefited a lot from it and did a lot of deep healing work on my parents, my ancestry, and I could feel the reflection of that healing on my physical healing as well. So I'm grateful for this.
Yeah, well, wonderful to have you here tonight. Michelle, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? And
Hi, I'm Michelle. I don't have any experience in this, which is why I'm tuning in, because I'm definitely interested in anything that's in the spiritual realm and learning more about what's out there so that I can better use it on my spiritual path.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome. Thank you. And Jane, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just did. I'm like Michelle. I am into spirituality in a big way, and I was just attracted to something that I knew nothing about.
Okay, well, welcome. And my apologies for the delay. There were some technical difficulties. And let's see, Terry, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. I don't know if your camera is working.
Not really. My name is Terry, and I'm a nurse. I live in Annapolis, and I attended a Constellation introduction class a couple of years ago, and I've always been interested in it. So I was glad to see that you were speaking this evening and to find out more. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, great. Welcome. Thank you. And Eunice, do you want to unmute there?
Hi, I am new to Family Constellation. I live in Dallas, Texas, but when I read the Family Constellation related things, I feel like I am from the Turkey, and it is very familiar. And the ideas, everything related. When I think something related to Family Constellations, it is already in my customs. In our daily life as a Turkish person. So I wanted to learn much more about it and use some healings or something.
Yeah, well, welcome. Teşekkür ederim. Yeah, good to have you here. And let's see, Lucille Love, are you there? Do you want to?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Is your camera working?
It is, but I'm with my daughter right now, so I just had to sneak into the room to talk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Lucille Love. I've never had any experience with this. I think I was guided. Well, I believe I was guided here because I've never been to this gathering. I was just, meditating yesterday, and I went online and I found this, and I was like, oh, yeah. This is probably what I need with my journey in spirituality. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, that's great. It's great to have you. And this work is very much works on synchronicity, and it's about the field. And so the field brought you in today, and really good to have you here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Nancy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Are you able to turn on your camera?
Well, my camera works fine, but I just got out of the shower, so I have to wait a second.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. If you want to just introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, I have had some experience with Family Constellations and also done a fair amount of reading with them, done them some with people standing in different positions, and also with using like stones or shells and feeling into the field that way. And I think it's a really very cool healing modality, and you can discover amazing things. And so I saw it and I wanted to learn more.
Yeah. Well, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And let's see, Ash Walker.
Hi, I'm Ash.
Ash.
Yeah. Are we just introducing
Yeah, just
ourselves?
if you had any experience with Family Constellation and what brought you here today.
Yeah, I just always love like hearing from Rays of Healing, and I did have a family constellation session before in 2018 with my mom. But that was my only experience, and that was the only time I really ever heard of it. My mom brought me to
Right.
that.
Okay. Great. Well, welcome everybody. And yeah, so to give a little background, Family Constellation was started in Germany. There was a German psychologist who had been a minister in Africa, in South Africa, and he saw working with the spirits from the African perspective is one thing that influenced this work. And also he noticed there that actually now I'll have people like Jane, go ahead and mute right now, just because sometimes there's incidental noises in the background. But feel free to unmute anytime you want to ask a question. And yeah, feel free to jump in with questions anytime, that's fine. So in Africa, they spend a lot of money decorating the coffins. I don't know if you've seen that, but they almost worship the parents. There's just this obvious, tremendous love for the parents, which often here in the West, there's so much blame and anger and conflict that's there. And part of the reason that it's not the same in Africa is you're more raised by the village. So you don't have just this one person to hold as responsible for all the different things that happen to you. And so that's one of the reasons it's like that. But anyway, he came back from being a minister and studied psychology. And at the time, this was in the 60s, transactional analysis, transactional analysis was a big thing. And that was this sort of, I'm okay, you're okay. If you remember that book, it was looking at scripts that people kind of get on automatic pilot, and you just live these scripts out without thinking and without a lot of reflection. And so he noticed that, yeah, that's true, but often they're not even necessarily your scripts, they're your parents, your grandparents. He knows how these things get passed down in families, and people are repeating these different things that are being passed down in families. And so yeah, that led to this investigation of kind of an ancestral connection of patterns. And also in that work, they really analyze certain phrases and scripts and stuff, and he took part of that to develop something that's called the healing phrases that's used in family constellation work. But this is field work. We're tuning in to the field. One of the reasons I love family constellations is it's very in line with the Jungian, Carl Jung point of view that our conscious mind or ego is just the tip of the iceberg, and 90% of who we are is swimming in the unconscious. So we're much less in control of things in our life and aware of who we are and what's going on and all. Particularly in this work, we look at systems and different webs of connection that particularly we might have energetic connections with. And so, yeah, it's very looking at that. And it's similar in a way to also psychodrama that some people might be familiar with. And in that work, you will go and revisit different traumatic periods and events that happened in your life, and you'll sort of act them out, and you'll use people to play different roles in a difficult traumatic family scene. And but in family constellation work, we're tuning into the field and noticing what is happening energetically. And so we don't control the outcome. That work is driven by your conscious mind, by your ego. You set what is going to happen. Here, we're completely open to see what emerges. And so that's why this work is so powerful. You get in touch with unconscious stuff. You get in touch with often family secrets, and all kinds of different things emerge that so you can do this, for example, for people who are adopted and they know nothing about their family. And so it's not based on just your factual knowing and this and that. It works for anybody, and there's sort of a deeper truth that bubbles up. And yeah, actually, I should have started with a little introduction. That I'm Randy Goldberg, and I'm a, besides a family constellation facilitator, I'm also an astrologer. I've been interviewed by Washington Post, NPR, CNN for my astrology work. And I'm also a craniosacral therapist. I'm a licensed massage therapist. And I'm currently working on a master's degree in acupuncture. So I'm always deeply studying the field of health and healing, and deeply immersed in that. And I spent some years in India studying yoga and meditation. Oh, that's part of my background also. And so in family constellation, you can do it individually, you can do it as a group. There's many ways. Somebody mentioned, using objects. You can a lot of different ways that it can happen. And when you're doing it in a group setting, now luckily we didn't have to. It may rain tonight, and we didn't have to all go through traffic. And so, luckily with the Zoom, we're able just to jump on our computers and be here. But particularly if if this was happening in person, we would all be sitting in a circle together, and different people would have a chance to work depending on time and stuff. And when we would work one person at a time, so each person who wants to, and would take a turn, and I would have a brief discussion about the person, about what they'd like to work on. And so this there'll be some exploring with me, and we'll do some of this tonight about clarifying your question, because sometimes people come with the question or the thought like, I want to work on the problem in my life is my brother. He's a big pain in the rear end, and everything in my life is their fault. It just ruined my whole life. So, well, we can't do your brother's piece of work. We can do your work in relationship to your brother, and you can do your piece. And what we find is when we do our piece of work, we notice a big shift that happens. And that's why I do this work. I mean, it has really big, it's had huge impact in my life. And I see how with the people I work with, it really has incredible impact. And so it's about doing our work. And also one way of thinking about what you want to work on, it's whatever issue is causing you the most challenges. And so it doesn't have to be about a family situation. This work is also called systemic constellation. It's just also called field work. And so and it's used in many different areas and different ways these days. It's used, there's a whole field of organizational constellation that people are using it in companies and in groups or organizations, and to help resolve conflict and different, get insights into problems they're having. And but even in those situations, sometimes very formal, kind of like with a CEO and different things, they'll often find that people tend to recreate their family dynamic in their workplace, and that often an issue might go if there's a controlling person, the CEO's family traumas end up showing up in what they create in their work environment and in their so we are so formed by our family. And I've done so many different modalities, and I studied past life regression and different things, and I found that this ancestral connection has such a powerful connection, because it's who our ancestors are. They literally created us. We were born from the coming together of our mother and father and their mother and father before them. And this is like our physical roots. We talk about God, our creator. Well, we were literally created by our parents. And so there's this incredible energetic connection there with our ancestors. And just from a biological point of view, for the millions of years that human beings have been evolving and stuff, belonging to the clan and the tribe and your family was how you survived. And if you got expelled from that, you would literally die. You would cast into the wilderness, into the desert, whatever. And so this sense of belonging is one of the most powerful psychological things that exists for humans. And that's why, for example, people in war, they both, on both sides of a war situation, they feel very justified in what they're doing, because what they're doing is okay with their family, their clan, their group, their nationality. So this, because they belong to that. And so that's one place where you can see this sense of belonging so powerfully. Hello, Samantha, welcome. People had we've had some technical difficulties, but I'd like to welcome you here. And if you want to unmute and just, people had a chance to say what brought them here today, and if they had any experience with family constellation. So Samantha, I don't know if you want to quickly unmute and just introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. That's what I'm glad to be here. And
Is your camera able to turn on?
Oh yeah, sure. Hi everybody.
Great.
So I'm glad to be here. So I just want to say thank you for having this. And I think it's a really great. That's what the constellations. It's really important to kind of ground yourself and just be able to look at the stars. So I don't know. That's my interpretation of constellations.
And that's important. So thank you for that. And what we're doing tonight actually isn't astrology related, and some people do get confused with that, because I do have an astrology background. But tonight we're doing family constellation, and it has constellation in the terms of when you look at these different stars and you draw the line to draw a constellation, that would be like drawing somebody's family. And so people have this same kind of connection. And you can go ahead, I'll just invite you to mute right now and unmute yourself for any time you have a question. Feel free to jump in and unmute yourself. But it's just like a mobile that, if you've seen those when they're moving, and there are different pieces that are attached with strings. So when you move one piece of it, then the whole mobile starts to change. And so in the same way, when we do our piece of whatever family system, often we work with the family system, but it also can be what's going on in your work system. We're part of, in our life, we're part of so many different systems. And the energy that it connects us is unbelievably powerful. And when we do representing in this work, then you'll see it's kind of mysterious. This is an experiential kind of work. And so people are really baffled after they get to see it. It's like, how is that possible? Because somebody can show up and, you know, you don't know anything about the person. You'll see when I'm working with someone, I just have a very brief discussion, and we're not doing role play. When you represent somebody as part of their constellation, you'll be given the role that you're this person's mother, you're whatever. And then as a representative, you'll just go ahead and stand in their energy, or if we're on Zoom, you know, you'll be sitting in it. But it's sort of like waiting at a bus stop. You just will say to yourself, okay, I'm representing that person's whoever. And then you'll open yourself up to notice what you notice in your body, in your emotions, in your mind. But we pay a lot of attention to our body. The physical sensations that show up are very powerful, and really the mind can often, you know, often the person might think that, oh, well, the person should be such and such a way. But if that's why we pay a lot of attention to what's showing up in the representative, in their sensations, what they're physically feeling. And welcome, Barbara. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but we were able to get logged on, and everybody had a chance to just say if they'd had any experience with family constellation and what brought them here tonight. So you want to jump in with that? Anything you want to say?
I have come to see you a few times.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah.
And
well, great.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Welcome, welcome. And I'll invite you to mute yourself and then unmute yourself anytime you want to ask a question. That's fine. And yeah, you become like an antenna for the person you're representing. And what we find is that people get blown away. It's like, oh my God, you were exactly the way my mother is like that. And so the field is much thinner than we realize, and we're all much more connected than we're aware. And and there's things that happen in the field. One way of thinking of the field, like the field is neutral. It in trauma, we sort of get frozen. There's a saying in Jungian psychology about, you know, the emotions want to move. And when our emotions get stuck, that's what causes illness and different problems in our life, that we aren't able to process the stuff. We aren't able to move through it. And so when you have a huge trauma that's really emotionally overwhelming, we sort of naturally yell out, no, this can't be happening, stop, it's too horrible. And so we get that kind of no frozen into our system. We're sort of on that overwhelm. And it stays that way. It stays stuck in that kind of frozen no position. And so one of the healing movements that happens in this work is just being able to see what's happening and why it's happening, and to acknowledge what is. So if something horrible happened in your history, acknowledging that happened and not condoning it, not saying it was right or anything like that, but just agreeing, yes, this is the fact that happened. So it's part of when we grow, we have to first accept what's happened and who we are and move on from there. And so it's kind of coming out of, there can be this kind of unconscious denial that doesn't want to accept that such a horrible thing happened. And in this work, Jung also says that we heal from having an image of something. That's how something moves from the unconscious to the conscious mind. And just being able to set up your issue, your problem outside of yourself, and to see it there in front of you, gives you a whole new perspective, because we're so immersed in our issue and our problem that we literally can't see what's going on. And so this is another aspect of family constellation, to externalize whatever issue you want to work on. And just to reiterate that it doesn't have to be a family issue. It can be whatever issue that is you're facing challenges with in your life. And just to explain the way the field works, so people often will see different patterns get repeated in their life, and they don't really understand why these things are happening and what's going on. And so there was a woman who I've recently started studying with a Russian teacher named Elena Veselago, and she's an amazing teacher. I'm learning a lot from her. And she gave this example that someone came to her and she had 5 different dogs, and in several months after she gets the dog dies. So there was something in the field that with her, and like she could get another dog and that dog's going to die. And it's not that the field is trying to punish her, or the field is just neutral. The field wants something to be acknowledged that's not being acknowledged, and for something to be seen that's not being seen, and to work out what's happening energetically. So and nature exists in this field, and so there's a flow, and it's like the flow gets blocked. And so in what often happens in our family, we get entangled in the feelings. Whatever difficult feelings arise in a family, they stay there until they get resolved. And there's many unresolved feelings that happen throughout our life, and they sort of get stored up, and they need to be acknowledged. And often these feelings, and this is what's the transgenerational piece of this, is often they're not necessarily our feelings. So I don't know if people have heard about epigenetics, but there's a really excellent documentary from the BBC. It's called Hidden in the Genes, that goes into this a lot. And there's been all these studies now so like the grandchildren of people who are in a famine, say during World War II or earlier than that, they'll start showing certain patterns of their grandparents, even though they never had faced anything like this. So it's been shown that different problems show up transgenerationally. It's like there's certain genes that get turned on, and so that's another way that kind of explaining how connected we are to our ancestors. And as I'm talking, anytime there's anything, any questions you have or whatever, feel free to jump in with any thoughts or questions. Also disease, another word for disease is disorder. And in our family, there can be different disorders. We can, even there's the term mental disorder. So when things get out of order in a family system, then there's different problems that arise that can be resolved with allowing the natural order to be there. And in a family, everybody deserves to belong. They're part of that family. And so so exclusion is one thing that causes problems, and realizing your place and order, and honoring each person in the family as having their place and being allowed to belong, and acknowledging different difficult things that happened in the family. All these things are powerful healing movements that can allow, there's like a flow of love and life force that allowed you to get your life. Your parents came together, and but then that love gets twisted in so many different ways due to societal pressures and due to the overwhelming difficulties that parents face, and when in so many cases they weren't prepared, they themselves weren't properly raised, and so they really didn't know about how to raise their children. And it's very hard for someone to give something that they themselves haven't received. And so anyway, that's another example of how these things get passed down for generations. And there can be these different traumas that get passed down many generations, big traumas of war, and these different, here in the US, if we're not Native American, we're from some kind of immigrant family, and to have left the homeland, particularly before there was post office and telephone and these different things, you were never going to see these people again. It was such a big step to take. So often there are really big traumas that happened to get people to immigrate to this country. And so our story, we're standing on the shoulders of so many people that came before us. Americans tend to have this pioneering, my life started on such and such a date when I was born, without realizing how connected we are to so many stories that came before us. And so this connection to the ancestors is actually a powerful resource that many cultures around the world know about and understand. In Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, we were trying to relocate villages that we felt, they might be being influenced by the enemy. And in that culture, they're very connected to the ancestors and to the land and to the grave sites where the ancestors lived. And so there was such a traumatic disruption of that resource for them. And that's and most cultures that are close to nature, close to natural order of things, have this very strong connection with the with the ancestors. And welcome, Kim. We had some technical difficulties and didn't get started right on time, but people had a chance to introduce themselves and say if they had any background in family constellation and what brought them tonight. So do you want to just say a sentence or two?
Sure, yeah. My name's Kim, and don't have any experience with this, and I came because I know Randy.
Yeah, well, welcome. Great, good to see you, Kim.
Yeah.
And just as people have connection to an animal totem or angels or all different kind of internal resources that people have, having a connection to your ancestors can be very powerful. You can draw on them as a resource for strength, for healing, for guidance. And we're going to be doing ancestral meditation to hook up and get connected to that. And it's something that you can do on a daily basis. And also if you have, let's say you have difficult feelings with your parents, one thing that can be helpful is to have pictures of them when they were babies or children, when they were young children. Like if you have an altar and you put a picture of them as a child, you get to see them in their innocent state when they, just like you, they were born into this life in an innocent way. And one thing kind of with that epigenetics kind of shows is that we really don't, it's kind of an eternal question of philosophy about free will and destiny and this and that, but there is free will, but we, in a way, we're formed so much more than we kind of, the ego wants to acknowledge, that our environment and the different things that things that we experienced in life, we have way less choice than we often might imagine. And so just think of this as kind of a healing, meditative thing to ponder. If you're considering the different people in your life who you might hold some resentment and anger and different things, that what if they did what they did, that they didn't have a choice about doing that, that there was some way in which they were raised and the resources they had available to them, they were struggling, trying to do the best they could. And one of the insights you get when you get to be a representative and to step in somebody else's shoes, you tend to feel like it's such a powerful experience to see what another person's life is like, and to feel particularly how much overwhelm there often is. And they're not doing, particularly as a kid, we often think they're doing this to us, and that they, and often people are just so overwhelmed, and they're not at all trying to do the things they do that have a negative impact on people. They're just struggling to get by in their life. And there's so much, and often these struggles relate to the generation that happened before, and they didn't know how to deal with it, and then the generation before that, and so this ends up repeating. And there's this saying, you can't give what you haven't been given yourself. And one of the people are probably familiar with the work of Byron Katie. So she likes doing this phrase of, think of whatever situation you're in and reverse it. What if the exact opposite were true? So instead of that my parents did this to me. I did this to my parents. That, you know, we can even, these entanglements can show up. You know, I can speak for myself. I had a critical and hostile mother, but I find myself being critical and hostile towards her. I carry this resentment. And so there's, in a way, I can use that as a way to stay close to you. And often a healing realization is, you know, dear mom, I'm angry and resentful in the way that you're angry and resentful. And we can actually do that as a way to stay close to this parent or this person that may have hurt us. And yeah, it's really interesting how these entanglements can be very unconscious. And what we want to do in the family constellation work is give back the things that don't belong to us. So there might be certain feelings that we're carrying that are connected to those that came before us. And one of the ways of describing family constellation work is that people get burdened with something. Like when you're born into a family, you look sort of at the whole aura, arc of this family, and you see, well, where is there something difficult there? Where is somebody who didn't have, who was excluded, who got a bad deal, who had some really difficult fate, and I want to bring them in. So out of this innocence of a child, we can often identify with somebody like that. It's part of our family heritage. And we can take on that pattern to try to heal them. And often as a baby or a child, that is kind of what keeps us alive. That's kind of become a mission, sort of. But then as an adult, you can still be living out that pattern. You can be hurting yourself in a way that there might have been a difficulty that that person had in their life. And then it's just going on unconsciously. And so there's a healing movement when we can become conscious of that and say, oh, out of love, I took on that burden for you. And now with love, I give it back to you. It actually belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me. And you get freed up from that kind of burden and are able to move into your life in a whole new way, where you feel the support of all your ancestors, and you feel that flow of love and life force that's there. That's how we got our life. And we can take the example of, you know, the most horrific kind of thing you can think of, like somebody who got their life by being raped by an enemy soldier. Their mother was raped by an enemy soldier on the battlefield, whatever. And happened to be their fate, how they got their life. So I mean, it could be more horrible. Even that person can have gratitude that they had this chance to have a life. And so that you can think, well, it was my fate to come into this world in this really strange and awful way. But regardless, I'll take that gift of life and I'm going to go forward and do something that I want to do with my life. I'll live my life in a way that will be good for me. And I can be grateful that I had this chance to have a life. So, you know, I won't take anything from a parent, but I'm going to move forward in the way that I want to create my life. And so we all have the chance to have gratitude for the gift of life. So many different spiritual traditions talk about how precious this gift of life is, and those that think about reincarnation say, you know, it's very rare. If you think of everything as evolving, then from that perspective, we went through so many plant and animal lives, and finally we get a human life. And, you know, so in terms of evolution, it's a rare gift. And, you know, our kind of from the yogic perspective that I spent time in India studying that, they say consciousness is evolving like animals and plants. They're just moving unconsciously. They're being guided by the cosmic mind. But the human mind gets to the point where it becomes self-aware. Okay, I can move in any way that I want to. And if it decides to just sort of get enmeshed in the cruder world, it will take the shape of whatever it associates with. But if it associates with a higher vibration, it merges back into pure consciousness. So you have the choice to move forward and backward in your evolution, but we can choose to move in the way that we guide our life and set our intentions and put our effort to move towards. So let me pause for to get some comments and questions. And
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little personal, but my father is a huge stress case. Okay. And my parents have been helping me out lately because I had surgery on my foot. I haven't been able to work, and they've been helping me financially. And they've also been driving out like an hour away for like almost every day for the past week to help me like cook and stuff like that. But today my dad told me that he gets stressed whenever he's around me. And being around me just stresses him out in general. And when I'm around him, I get totally stressed.
Yeah.
And so is that what you're saying, is like how, I mean, that's how our relationship is. Like, you know, whenever I call him, he thinks there's something wrong.
Right.
So how is that something that you can say, like, I can unburden myself with and be like, okay, well, you can be stressed if you want to be, but I'm not going to be stressed? Or is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. So, you know, you tuned in late. So one of the things I talked about is order and disorder. And it's natural. The natural order of things is for children to take and for parents to give. That we come into this life completely helpless, and, you know, if it weren't for our parents taking care of us and giving us what we needed, we wouldn't have lived and survived. So that's the natural order of things. And sometimes that because the overwhelm of the parents and different things, we end up trying to take care of our parents and to take care of their needs. And there's just different ways that the whole family system gets disordered and dysregulated. And so, yeah, absolutely. And the one sort of healing movement in that sort of case is just clarifying that, you know, everybody getting clear on their position and everybody realizing that they belong, and then also everybody understanding that I'm looking kindly on you as my father. I understand you're there trying to do your best, and please look kindly on me as your daughter. And I'm just your daughter. Don't view me as some other. So often there's these other projections that get caught in the mix of things. And also just to clarify that you have your life and I have my life. And please look kindly on me as I go forward in my life. And I appreciate all your help. And I would like to receive your love and assistance without judgment and conditions. And I look towards you without judgments and conditions. So clearing up the field. So this is like what's part of the field. And often there's so many different unspoken, unconscious things are all mixed into that. And part of what another thing that you missed is often these are patterns that get passed down for many generations. Particularly there'll be some impact and some trauma, and so these things can happen and be passed down for several generations, and can kind of go on until some of the different things are acknowledged, and often just so speaking truth into the field. So I mean, it's a good step in a way that he acknowledged that he feels that stress, and that you acknowledge that you feel that step. That can often be a first step of, and then you can look at, you know, if he does not want to be stressing you out and you do not want to be stressing him out, then look at what is that third thing that's there in the field that's causing it. And often that's this thing that's stepping into the field, and that's some kind of entanglement. And that's exactly what this kind of work is about. Yeah, thank you. Other thoughts and questions, comments? Okay, so what I'd like to do, this is soul work. Our mind moves very quickly from object to object, and we often, so it's easy for the mind to move very quickly, and we want to slow the mind down, and for us to take this work that we do in at a deeper place within ourselves. And so we kind of want to get out of our head and deeper into our body and into the felt sense of what's happening in the field. And so we're going to do a brief guided meditation to help us connect to the ancestors. And when if most people, for some people, if they're adopted, they won't necessarily know at all what they look like. But for most people, you know what your parents and grandparents may have looked like, and beyond that, you start to have very little idea. So just because you don't know what your great grandmother or grandfather looked like, don't let that stop you. When we're doing this, we're going to do a visualization, and we're going to have the different generations standing behind us. And so just have somebody stand there that you must have had a great grandfather, and so there's somebody standing there that represents them. And let's just take a 3-minute water in, water out bathroom break. Give people a chance before we start this. So go ahead and just come back at 8:40. And there's in a piece I can explain that another way of explaining this is to think of any problem. You can think of it as physical, mental, spiritual problem you're having. That is a place where there's greater love trying to break through. And the reason we have this problem is because the greater the problem, the greater the force of love that is there that is trying to come through. And you can think of it as like trash that gets blown up in the wind. And part of the shift is realizing that it's all part of the love, that the actual trash that's in the wind is actually pieces of love. And anyway, that's a philosophical thing that my current Russian teacher is getting into, the way she explained it. Okay, so feel free to get comfortable, however is good for you to do. We're going to go inside and do a brief meditation. So however you want to be for that, it's good to close your eyes. You can fold your hands in your lap if you like. And you might want to rock a little bit and find your center and feel centered and feel your sit bones. And you can let yourself be aware of your spine and your nervous system, and your jaw and your shoulders. See if there's tension you have here you want to shake off. And go ahead and take a big breath in and exhale with a yawn or a sigh. Ah. Just take a few more deep breaths to really exhale any of the stale air you might have in your lungs. Just a letting go breath. And then let yourself begin to breathe with your diaphragm, so the air is like pouring from one pitcher into water, filling up another pitcher, so that our lungs, the air streams into the bottom of our lungs, filling up our belly first. And then allow it to fill up from the bottom towards the top. And there's many kinds of meditation, but they all will involve breath. And there's a lot of meditations that just don't go much beyond that. It's very powerful, just observing your breath, just witnessing as the air streams in and out of your nostrils. Okay, so now I want you to sense that your father's standing behind your right shoulder, and Visualize your mother standing behind your left shoulder, and they both have a arm of support out. They have your back, they have their hand on your shoulder, and it's because they came together that they were able to pass on life to you. So just feel that support and that gift that you were able to get. That gift of life came from your mother and your father. Just have a acknowledgement, just a little nod of gratitude for that gift that they gave you. Even if they weren't able to give you anything else, you got the gift of life. And you can go out and get what you need. And go ahead and see your grandparents behind your parents. So it's just this ladder of support that's there. They're each standing behind the backs of your parents. And add your grandparents, your great grandparents behind your grandparents. And add your great great grandparents. And add your great great great. And just one generation at a time at your own pace, keep adding past generations. They were all survivors. They were able to pass on life. And keep going all the way back to your ancient ancestors. And those ones from thousands of years back. You're also connected to them. And let yourself lean into this. Feel like they have your back. Lean into that support. There's a flow of love and life force that's there that you can tap into. You can draw on this for healing, for wisdom, for guidance, whatever you need. They're there, and as you give them love and attention, they send it your way. They're very proud to see life going forward. And you can also turn for a moment and just feel like you have your hands cupping some imaginary burden that you might have unconsciously picked up, and you can just say to them, for any unconscious entanglements that I might have, any of the burdens that don't belong to me, I give them back where they belong. And I leave with what is with you, what is yours with you. And just let yourself turn and feel they're carrying all the things that were part of their life and part of their fate. And you don't have to be burdened by any of those things. But you have their support and you can be freed from that and go forward in a good way with your life. Yeah, okay, and when you feel ready, you might want to wiggle your fingers and your toes and slowly at your own pace, come back to the zone. And Michelle, how was that for you? Want to share anything?
It was good. I get disoriented during meditations because I'm on a swivel chair and I'm never quite sure which way I'm facing because I just feel like I'm constantly on a turn.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to tell like who's, behind me and if I'm facing them.
Yeah.
It was
Spatial.
good.
Good. Anybody else want to share how that was for them? Ash, do you want to share something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did have to, it's difficult to look past my parents. But I kept kind of having to remind myself to make them appear younger. So like I tried, making them all be children. And that was something kind of like when I would get distracted by just the fact my parents were there, kind of I had to keep reminding myself to make them children. And same with the other ancestors. I think that helped a little bit. I did get like a little bit distracted, but I think that this is something that's really powerful for me and something I want to look into more because there is a lot there for me.
Yeah, so feel free to practice this on a daily basis and just become more easier to just feel yourself connected to your roots and connected to all those that came before you, and it's part of how you got your life. So, yeah. Anybody else want to share how that was? Yeah, Barbara, unmute yourself. Barbara, unmute. You got to push the mute
Yes,
button.
I do. Okay. I often channel my ancestors, and so do other members of my family. It's interesting because we'll get together and my grandmother will be sitting in the corner. We all know she's there. Yeah, it's fun. And I always call my ancestors when I'm doing a healing, especially on a family member.
Yeah, that can be very powerful to bring in, particularly the ones that helped us feel safe when we were young. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to share? Nancy?
Yes, I like this work very much, and I work with the ancestors often. And I think the part that it's very, very powerful to give the ancestors back what is theirs and to keep what is yours and to send the drama doesn't belong to anybody away.
Yeah.
And so, I liked working with that, and I actually turned to face the ancestors and to blow back to them what is theirs to keep.
Yeah. There's a healing phrase for that, when you're sort of doing that process in family constellation, that the ancestors say to you, you honor me by leaving with me what is mine. And often you'll say to them, I took this out of love and I give it back with love.
I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share? Well, let's do a piece of work. And Kim, you mentioned that situation, and actually that is a, if you're willing, that would be a nice place to jump in and to take a look at. Yeah, you mentioned particularly it was you and your father, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So the way we can do a family constellation about this will be, and I'll invite anybody who's willing to be a rep to turn on their camera, and that way you can be part of the constellation for that. And so Kim, what I'll have you do is take a look at the people who have their camera on, and just see, use your intuition, who pick someone to represent you, and then someone to represent your father.
Okay. I'm going to pick Eunice to represent my father and Michelle to represent me.
Okay, so Michelle and Eunice, is that okay with both of you? And so go ahead and unmute yourself. We'll have you just stay unmuted. Yeah, so Michelle, you're going to represent Kim. And so take, and Eunice, you're going to represent Kim's father. And what's your father's name, Kim?
Jack.
Okay, so Jack, Kim's father, Mercy's father.
Mhm.
So just take a moment to just think of yourself as representing them, and let yourself keep your eyes open. It's going to, and just, it's like you're standing at a bus stop. You're just standing at a bus stop, and you are Jack, Kim's father, Jack, and you are Kim, Michelle. So just take a few moments to see what you notice as a representative for Kim, Michelle, and as a representative, Eunice, for Kim's father. Just start to become aware if there's any sensations you might be having in your body. And we're going to take a couple of minutes to just settle in. So we take time with this. There's no rush. It all unfolds very slowly.
You want us to just let you know when we're feeling sensations?
Yeah, well, just take a few moments and I'll check in with you.
I have started goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. And Michelle, did you say you're starting to notice anything?
Yeah, my hands are tingling.
Okay.
And I'm feeling overheated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And Eunice, as the father, what do you notice?
I have started goosebumps, so electricity in my body.
Mm-hmm. And where, any particular?
In my legs, in my arms.
Mm-hmm. And what is that sensation like? Does it feel like it's, sometimes goosebumps come from fear, sometimes from anxiety? Try to tune in to see what it was associated with the goosebumps.
I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Usually goosebumps are kind of an uncomfortable feeling. Yeah. And Representative Kim, anything else you're noticing?
I'm getting like tension migraine, like stuff happening up in the sinus cavity, like a pressure, and like a weird taste in the mouth, and getting more and more overheated for no reason.
I still have in my back, especially for this area, there was the pain started, and goosebump starts from my arms and my legs, and it keeps getting and getting.
Yeah. So turning into that pain in the back a little bit, and is that like stabbing, like there's something in the back, or what's that pain about?
It feels like I carry something through my this side, and it hurts. After that I carried too much, and it started to I got pain.
Yeah. Okay. And I would like to anything else you're noticing, Rep for Kim?
I'm having like in the back of my throat. It's almost like that soreness you get when you've been like yelling or screaming or about to cry. Like,
Yeah.
That back area.
Yeah, kind of a hoarse throat feeling. Yeah. And you just let your eyes be open, and you're just there. And actually what I want both the rep for the father and the rep for Kim to just on the screen there, just see what you notice as rep for the father. You look at your daughter, who's Michelle, and Michelle, as you look to the rep of as your father, which is Eunice. So just see what you notice when you look there.
When I look at the Kim, I got a very powerful goosebumps. I felt like very powerful electricity in my body, and my shoulder still aching, but it is right now, it started in front of that.
And does it feel like a stabbing or a weight?
It's still, I carried too much something like one side. The other side doesn't have any pain or ache.
Right. Yeah.
I carried something like a bag, very heavy bag,
yeah,
or rope, and very big rope. And sometimes when carry something very heavy, one side, it's like ache. It's like that. Only the like this side.
Yeah, I understand. And for rep of Kim,
I just keep having like the words like stern and kind of like I don't know if it's like feeling like restrained or like a little scared, and then like the aura around him just keeps kind of growing and going back.
So you said the word is stone?
Stern.
Yeah. Okay. So rep for Kim, I want you to say to your father, you feel very stern to me.
You feel very stern to me.
Does that feel true to say that?
It does. It's almost like a little bit of a relief.
Yeah. So that's one of the healing movements that happens in Constellation, is when you say what is, when you acknowledge what is.
The like tension's also gone away a little bit too.
Yeah. And rep for the father, I want you to say to your daughter, I had to carry a big burden raising you. It was not always easy.
I had very big burden when you raising you. It wasn't always easy.
Does that feel like a true statement to the father?
Yes.
Okay. And I want the daughter to say to the father, I'm just your little girl.
I am just your little girl.
It was too much for me.
It was too much for me.
I didn't understand.
I didn't understand.
I was just a little girl.
I was just a little girl.
What do you notice as you say that?
And more of the tension releasing.
Mhm.
Just kind of my body relaxing and the tingling starting to subside a little instead of being as strong as they were at the beginning.
Yeah. And how is that to hear that for the father?
I don't know the reason, but the pain in my back, it's getting bigger. And I start like headache in my left side, uh, and I feel very discomfortable.
Okay. Kim Murphy, the actual, I would like you to pick somebody to be your father's father.
Okay. I'm gonna pick Barbara.
Yeah. So is that okay with you, Barbara? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can I ask
And
something?
yes.
When you say to Kim, pick your father's father,
Uh-huh.
pain and electricity in my body, it grew. I felt much more pain, much more electricity, much more goosebump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I heard to the select your grandfather's grandfather, grandfather, father.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, for letting us know about that. Kim Murphy, what was your grandfather's name?
John.
Okay, so you're going to be Kim's grandfather, the father of Jack, her father. And you can let us know, Barbara, if you start to notice anything as the grandfather of Kim.
My son not turn out the way I wanted him to. The way my
Okay.
father insisted.
And let's start with your body. What are you noticing going on in the body of the grandfather?
I'm tightening in the chest
Mm-hmm.
and I feel some anger rising.
Mm-hmm. Where's the anger in your body?
It's in my heart and it's also in the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually feel like I'm blaming my son for some of my own disappointments.
Mm. Anything else you're noticing in your body?
Oh yeah, I'm tight.
A lot of tension, tightness. Okay. And So go ahead and look on the screen at the representative for your son, and father of Kim, look at your father. And see what you notice as you're looking at each other. What do you notice, the grandfather?
My son looks sad. I'm disappointed in him. I can feel his stress. I can feel his tightness.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm feeling that I did not intend to hurt him that way.
Mm-hmm. What are you noticing, Jack, the father?
When Jack started when he started to speak, I felt
Yeah. When your father, John, the
yeah,
grandfather, started to speak.
yeah, when grandfather started to speak, I felt discomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
very electricity in my body, but time to time it relieved. I started to feel nothing.
Okay. Okay, good. So I want you to look at your father and say, "Dear Father, you are the big one and I am the small one.
Hi, Father, you are the big one, I am the small one.
It was your role to give and my role to take.
Your role is the key, my role is the take.
How is that for the grandfather to hear that?
I'm sort of shocked.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks the truth. I think I expected to get more from him.
Try looking at the rep and say, if this feels right, that, dear son, I see you.
Dear son, I see now. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, and tell him, I see you. I see you now.
I see you now.
And you will always be my son.
You will always be my son.
And I keep a place in my heart for you.
And I keep a place in my heart for you.
And I give you my blessing.
And I give you my blessing.
Live a happy and healthy life.
Live a happy and healthy life.
What does the son notice?
I started to feel relieving. And I'm not sure, is it intentional or unintentional? I started to shake my head.
Mm-hmm. Any movement like that, you can just allow the energies moving.
Mm.
And I would like both actually all three of you can feel that the ancestors are coming in behind you and they're supporting you on the shoulders. So if this were in person, I would stand up and I would come behind you as your ancestors. So right now, feel the ancestors are coming and standing behind you, and they're giving you their support, going all the way back. The whole line of ancestors are all here supporting you. And you take that in also, Michelle, as rep for Kim. And do you notice anything as the ancestors come in for you, for the grandfather? And for the father, anything shift as the ancestors come in?
I feel their support. They're actually grateful because I've gotten some insight. Because from what my son told me, I felt the same way towards them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could easily turn around and tell them the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And that way we can see that this is something that got passed down several generations. It's not, didn't just start here. So yeah. And what is the father, Jack, noticing as the ancestors come in to support you?
I don't feel any negativeness or pain is relieving.
Yeah, just pay attention to that shift that's going on in your body as the pain is relieving and you're able to take in the support of the ancestors. And allow yourself now to turn and to have the ancestors and your father at your back now. And now go ahead and look at the rep for your daughter. And rep for Kim, what's going on with you with having seen this, what happened?
I had like a tension at first when they all came in, kind of like a overwhelm. And then it just got really calm and really quiet and just a lot more just relaxed, like a feeling of everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. And are you feeling the ancestors are behind you and you're taking in that support?
Yeah, I feel it kind of like in my back, like the upper back part. Like I'm feeling it there.
Mm-hmm.
And like the tension up in here has finally started dissipating and going away.
Yeah. So go ahead and now feel that like your father and Kim are the reps for the father and the reps for Kim are facing each other. And just see what you notice now.
It feels a lot more calm. Like I'm not feeling like that tension or that like kind of like a pushback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for the father, what are you noticing?
When I look at the Kim, I don't know the reason. I feel like I am waiting at the bus stop. Kim is playing like dancing in the middle of the road, making some cheerful movements, but I don't feel like I am happy to see my daughter in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My daughter is very happy. She's cheerful.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I want you to say to the rep, to Michelle, who's representing Kim, I want you to say to her, "Dear daughter, I'm very concerned about you."
Dear daughter, I am very concerned about you.
I'm very worried that you could be in danger.
I am very worried about you could be in danger.
And I'm very concerned for your safety.
I am very concerned about your safety.
And I feel this way out of love.
I feel this way out of love.
Does that all seem to fit?
Yes.
Okay. So rep for Kim, take that in, and what do you notice as you hear that?
This feels a little more relief. Like skeptical at first, but then kind of like a little bit of relief.
So I want you to say to your dad, dear Dad,
Dear Dad,
I am all grown up.
I am all grown up.
I'm an adult now.
I'm an adult now.
I have my life.
I have my life.
You have your life.
You have your life.
And I'm grateful for your support.
And I'm grateful for your support.
So please look kindly as I go forward living my own life.
So please look kindly as I go forward living my own life.
I'm able to take care of myself and to stay safe.
I'm able to take care of myself and to stay safe.
And I also will keep my child safe.
And I also will keep my child safe.
So what do you notice as you say that?
Well, it kind of ended with like a deep breath, like a sigh. That just kind of came naturally at the end of that. But yeah, it definitely felt like weight being lifted, like throughout, like at certain parts when I was saying.
Yeah. And say this, dear Dad, look kindly on me as I go forward in my life.
Dear Dad, look kindly on me as I go forward in my life.
As I look kindly on you.
As I look kindly on you.
What is the father noticing?
When she started speaking, I felt so much energy in my body. It was discomfortable, but when she was speaking, it decreased, and I feel much more better.
Good. So I want you to say to your daughter, dear daughter, you will always be my daughter.
Dear daughter, you always be my daughter.
And I keep a place for you in my heart.
And I keep a place for you in my heart.
And I want you to have my blessings.
And can you repeat?
Yeah, I want you to have my blessing.
I want you to you have my blessing.
To live a full and happy life.
To live full and happy life.
How's that feel for the father to say that?
It is relieving.
Yeah.
The energy is the uncomfortable energy. I didn't feel much more better.
Yeah. And what is the Kim, rep for Kim, noticing?
My sacral chakra was having like just acting weird during that, which was weird because it was fine prior.
Just try to allow yourself to open up and ground. You know, we connect to the earth's energy through our sacral. So just acknowledge that I have a place here on earth. I deserve to walk on this earth. And I take the support of the earth as I live my life. And I can easily ground and find my connection on the earth.
It's more relaxed.
Yeah, Okay, good. And keep breathing. Allow yourself to breathe through your mouth. And now I want Rep for Michelle to say to her father, "Dear Father,
Dear Father,
thank you for your blessing.
thank you for your blessing.
I will take it and do something worthwhile with my life.
I'll take it and do something worthwhile with my life.
And I want you to point behind you. Kim, you have a son, is that correct? So point and say, Dad, look, life has gone forward. So you're pointing to your son.
Dad, look, life has gone forward.
Yeah. So when you feel ready, Rep for Kim, I want you to turn towards your future, and in front of you is your son and your future, and your father and all the ancestors are standing at your back, and they're all giving you their blessings, taking their support, and feel how you can move into your future with all that support at your back.
I'm feeling like some joy, like up in the heart region.
Mm-hmm. So, Kim Murphy, I would like you now to feel like you're standing in for the rep. And Michelle, you stay as the rep, you're just there to energetically support Kim. And let her, Michelle, you can unmute yourself and let her know anything that would help her feel that shift that happened in your body and how you're feeling now, so that she can take this, so she can stand to where you are, so that she can feel it herself.
It's just like a relief, like a letting go, and just feeling supported, even if it's not directly from your dad, but from the other generations, kind of pushing forward and moving through you. And it's just, it's kind of like a clearing.
Okay.
Yeah. And allow yourself to be standing there, Kim, feeling your father and your grandfather and all the generations, and your mother and grandmothers, and just feel all those generations are there at your back, and you're able to take in their support, and you're able to take in the blessings that they gave you, and you're happy as you see how life went forward, as you look at your son, and you're happy to see all the infinite possibilities that the future holds for you, as you can create any life that you want to. So just allow yourself to take in that support and see the future that you want to create there in front of you. And Michelle, did you feel like you were freed up to move into that future that you wanted to have?
Yeah, there was a lot of like deep breath releasing that just kind of happened on its own.
Mm-hmm. And Kim Murphy, just anchor this into yourselves. Take 3 deep breaths so that you can remember this is like a healing image that we arrived at. And I want you to remember this place. So you and your father have shifted from when the constellation started, and there was all the different difficult feelings and sensations, that now this is the energetic relationship you have and are holding and are going forward with your relationship with your father. So it's at a new place, and just allow it to unfold as it goes forward in a natural way. And the healing really happens as you are able to keep this image and think back to the place that the constellation moved to, where you've been able to give back what's not yours. And there was a lot of ancestral stuff that got resolved, and you're able to take in their support and their blessing, and to stand with their support and to move into the future that you want to create. And that you keep a place in your heart for your father. You will look kindly on him. You ask him to look kindly on you. And just know that you'll always be his little girl. And that love got passed down to your son. It's going forward in a good way. And you're grateful for all the love and life force and the gift of life that came down from the ancestors. So go ahead, Kim, I'll have you thank the two people that got that.
Thank you.
3 people that were representatives.
Thank you. It was so like accurate. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so that's the
awesome.
astonishing thing about family constellation.
Yeah.
It's always miraculous. These people who didn't know anything about these people are able. And so is there anything left over that any of the reps need to say that you wanted Kim to know?
I had a sense that she was able to state her boundaries in a way that her father really had to listen. And I could feel the tension when he was describing how he was standing at the bus and just worried that she was going to injure herself. It sounded like he didn't trust her judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was in the past, and then that's and so that shifted.
He respects her now too.
Yeah, now there's a respect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And and you can go ahead and unmic Michelle, and I want the people who represented to say, I was a representative in your constellation, Kim.
I was a representative in your constellation, Kim.
And I give back everything that is yours to you.
And I give back everything that is yours to you.
That is yours.
And I am me and you are you.
I am me and you are you.
And you are you.
Yeah, and you can all thank each other. If we were we would give each other hugs, so we can give each other cyber hugs now, and we can just thank. You can all thank everybody. You know, that you did this out of love and out of service to do this. And we don't want to go in and dig into the details, but in the general type of questions, now that people had a chance to see family constellation in practice, is there any questions or comments that anybody in the group has that they want to ask or say? And yeah, anybody that go ahead, Eunice.
I have a personal question related to the family. I am looking for an answer, or it can be fixed by family constellation sessions I am looking for. In my family, all of my family, including my sisters, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, my grandmother, everybody had a bad experience when they are marrying. Their marriages, when they are starting, even though my mother and my father, something happened, and during their marrying, And marrying time, it is very difficult. Sometimes it's fight, sometimes they couldn't find the money, but even though the time, something bad happening and their marrying start always bad. And for myself, I came from the like culture of mostly the the people introduce each other. I was introduced with the woman, and but they say, okay, you are a good person, but I don't feel anything. But when I date with the people without knowledge of not marrying, everything is good. But when I introduce someone, nothing happens. I don't feel anything. She doesn't feel anything. I am, even though for my culture, I am very like 5-6 years I am past. I need to marry, like in my culture, even though there's no age, yeah. I have been trying to get married 6 years, but I don't feel anything when I introduce with someone. She doesn't feel the same. Everybody say you're a good person, but I didn't feel like something. And when I think after reading the family constellation, listening to my sister had a problem, my mother had a problem, my grandmother left someone, married my grandfather, my grandmother left someone, engaged someone, but she didn't want to marry with him, and escaped to my grandfather. Like it was happening, all of my family, both sides, my mother's side and my father's side.
Yeah. Okay, so I understand. And you're describing a pattern. So yes, this is definitely the type of thing that family constellation is good at. And where did you say you live, Jonas?
I live in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, so try to see if there's some local group there that you might have some family constellation workshop you can attend. And if not, I also do individual one-on-one work with family constellation. And that's, you're describing a family pattern. So definitely there's something there in the system that seems to be repeating. And so yes, the answer is yes. And I want to respect people's time. We're actually at the end of when we said we would, so I want to give a chance if anybody wants to unmute and ask any other question or comment, or and if not, we can just have people unmute and turn on their cameras to say goodbye if they want. And,
Eunice, can I ask Eunice, where are you from originally?
I am from Turkey.
Oh, Turkey. I like Turkey.
Yeah. Turkey biliyor musunuz?
Sorry?
Turkey biliyor musunuz?
Türkçe biliyorum, yes.
Yeah, I lived a year in Istanbul.
Oh, Istanbul. I grew up in Istanbul, lived there 30 years.
I went to Robert College. Lycée,
oh, really? Oh,
Lycée.
Harvard in Turkey.
And anyone else have any question or comment before we check out?
Hey, Randy, really quickly, I just want to say thank you for having this again. I thought it was really interesting, amazing how how the healing, how it worked, and it's just amazing. I don't know, for me, I felt like, because I deal a lot also, that's what with my dad is a lot of challenging situations, but I just kept praying, and I don't know, I was wondering if this works. I know it's unusual to say, I'm just going to say it about like past life, like any like past life kind of healing, like when it comes to families, because I kind of pictured a lot of things and how I needed my dad now in this life and how he wasn't in the past life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I've studied past life regression, and I do that work. And sometimes there can be a past life entanglement, and it can show up even in this work. There's a possibility with Kim's father, that whole wearing a bag thing could be something also that is, he's had lifetimes where he was working in the mine, carrying a bag or something, you know, along those lines. So yeah, absolutely.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming. And anyone else before we sign out here? I want to thank everybody for coming.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, and thank you, Kim, for having the courage to do the work and for being, and let me just reiterate, you know, this work is confidential, so you can share your own experience, but don't share details about Kim's thing, and we all hold that in a sacred space and container here. And anything else, Nancy or Lucille, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I wanted to say thank you for having this. And I have a really interesting situation going on in my family. I'm seeing patterns repeating themselves through me that probably came from ancestral past and into my children's lives. And I want very much to break those patterns, and I'm working energetically hard to do that. But it's interesting to see it literally playing out before my eyes. And I'm not sure what steps to take to heal it.
Yeah, so doing a family constellation could be something that could definitely help with all that. And, so I do individual work, and there are also workshops like this where you can have opportunity to do that. So yeah, and I want to say to Eunice, you know, they say like when you're not in a relationship, you're in a relationship with not being in a relationship, and you can sort of you can hold a space for that person who's gonna, your life partner, to show up, and you can put love in that space and work on your own heart that you are welcoming and loving that space that's there. As you fill it with love, it will attract the right person to come in and to be there and to enjoy that love that you have in your heart. And you can also kind of think to your parents that, and the different ancestors and different family patterns, that I have my life and I have my fate, and I choose to go forward with a married life in a good way, and to not repeat those patterns that came before me. And I belong to the family, and I stay loyal to the family, even though I choose not to repeat those patterns. Often there can be a feeling that, you know, they didn't turn out well for them, so why should it turn out well for me? And just to realize that they had their fate and their different things, and you're choosing to go forward in a good way with your life and your marriage, and that there's some things like that you can just do with your own energy. And there's on Shavasti.com, I can write it here in the chat, there's he has some good videos. Anybody wants to see some videos on family constellation, if you go to Shavasti.com and go to the video section, there's some good videos there on family constellation that can also give you some insight. And yeah, and feel free to, so in the email, it has my phone number and email and stuff, so contact me with any questions, or if you want to do a session and things like that. So great having everybody here. Thank you so much for showing up. Sorry for the initial snafu we had, but it's glad that you stuck in there. And you know, it's funny, it's always whoever is meant to show up shows up. The field draws in the right people, and it always really works out great like this. So I'm really grateful and love working in the field with Family Constellation. Great. And so we're going to end it now. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And any last thing anybody wants to say before I end the Zoom? Okay, have a good night.
Thank you too.
Yeah, take care. Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, many blessings. Bye-bye.